Hello, my name is Rusty Johnson. I'm the District Safety Liaison for Springdale Public Schools. I want to talk to you today about our emergency procedures, Catapult EMS, our active assailant, and our mandated reporter. This is our emergency procedures. Should be hanging up in every building, in every classroom, and in the offices. We're going to talk about these procedures this morning or today. First, I'd like to talk about our tornado. If we have a tornado, we're going to seek shelter. We're going to bring all students inside the building, go to a designated tornado refuge area, and assume a tornado position, which is a drop and cover position. Check the roll and close doors. Remain quiet and hold the drill position until an all clear signal is given. Report missing or injured students to the principal, and we're going to take any unharmed students to a designated safe site. The next is our fire procedure. We're going to evacuate. If you see or are alerted to smoke or a fire, we're going to pull the alarm and call 911. Take your class roster and evacuate students following the fire drill routes. Maintain a safe distance outside the building and take roll. Report missing or injured students to the principal and take unharmed students to a designated safe site. We have our active assailant or violent person procedures. Run, hide, fight. If you see or are alerted to a person with violent or threatening behavior, we're going to call 911. Notify the principal of the location of the suspect. We're going to run and escape if possible, hide or lock down if escape is not possible, and fight or counter as a last resort. Medical emergency. We're going to check, call, care. If you see or are alerted to a person who is injured or in need of medical attention, we're going to call 911. Notify your school nurse and principal. Provide CPR, AED, or first aid if needed. Do not remove the person unless it's necessary for the safety of your life, and stay with the injured person or ill person until assistance arrives. Our safety concern. If you see something or say something, you can report a safety concern. We can use our 1-844-479-088 number to report a concern. You can use a QR code that's on the posters around the school. You can go to gosdale.org/CSAY, or you can go to the staff links in the upper left-hand corner of any school device or in the upper right-hand corner of any of the school web pages, and you can report something. We want to make sure that our staff and students know that if they have an issue, whether it be bullying, there's a threat, or any safety concerns, they can report anonymously through our CSAY app. Alert lockdown. If we have an alert, we're going to lock the classroom doors, close the blinds, remain with students, and continue teaching until further notification. We're going to keep the students in the classroom. With the lockdown, we're going to lock and barricade the doors, take cover away from the windows and doors, stay out of sight, and silence and turn off our cell phones, and we're going to remain quiet. Turn off the lights and close blinds, and we're not going to answer knocks at the door. With a bomb threat, we're going to evacuate. If you're the initial person receiving a bomb threat, you can use the bomb threat form to collect information and notify the principal. That's the QR code on the emergency procedures. We're going to evacuate the building, leaving all personal belongings behind, turn off two-way radios and cell phones, leave all doors open, and remain with students, take roll, and report missing students. Hazardous materials. If the hazmat is inside, we're going to notify the principal of the exact location, and for major spills or releases of chemicals, we're going to activate the nearest fire alarm and evacuate the building. For hazmat outside, we're going to notify the principal of the exact location, follow the alert status procedures, and close all windows and doors and fill the cracks with paper, cloth, etc. Earthquake. We're going to drop, cover, and hold on. We're going to face away from windows and take cover under or beside a desk, counter, or tables. We're going to assume the earthquake position for the duration of the quake. We're going to drop down and cover. After the earthquake stops, count to 60, and then evacuate to an open space from the building, overhead wires, or other dangers. Student runaway or student abduction. With a student runaway, we're going to notify the principal of the student's last location and give a description of the student, and we're going to stay with our class or our students. With a student abduction, we're going to call 911. Note the appearance of the abductor and color, make, model, and license plate of the vehicle. Notify your principal and stay with your class or your students. Verbal or written threat of suicide. We're going to remain calm. Do not leave the person alone. Notify the principal, counselor, or social worker, and they will help you to complete the response protocols for the threat of harm to self, which is the QR code on the emergency procedures. Media release and release of students. The media procedures. Refer all media contact to the principal. Do not use social media to communicate during a crisis, and students should not be interviewed. Release of students. Do not release a student unless verification is completed by the office or a designated staff member, and no students should be released until conditions are safe. That is an overview of our emergency procedures. On the back of this poster is our safety information. We have our visitor procedures, bullying information, child abuse and neglect, tobacco, drug, cessation support, mental health support, and district contact numbers, school contact numbers, and emergency contact numbers. I'm going to go over a few of these with us right now. Visitor procedures. Visitors should push building access button. Office staff should greet the visitor on the phone and determine through questioning if the visitor should be granted access to the building. If yes, the visitor should report to the main office and show a valid government ID. And if the visitor does not have a valid government ID, they can use their name, first and last name, and their date of birth to check them in through the Raptor system. Once the office staff has used this ID and name and date of birth to produce a visitor's badge through the Raptor system, a visitor will be allowed into the building and they will wear that tag on their upper left-hand shoulder or chest, and then when they go to check out, they will go back to the Raptor, for the desk where they checked in, and they will take that badge off and turn it back into you. At that point, you will tear that badge up and check them out of the building. Child abuse and neglect. All classified and certified employees are mandated reporters. That means by law, we are all responsible for reporting instances of abuse or neglect. Child maltreatment or child abuse and neglect can include physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, sexual exploitation, and abandonment by the caretaker of the parent or the caretaker of the child, whether it be a parent, guardian, custodian, or foster parent. We'll talk about bullying. Bullying is intentional harassment, intimidation, humiliation, ridicule, defamation, or threat or incitement of violence by a student against another student or public school employee by written, verbal, electronic, or physical act that causes or creates an actual or reasonable foreseeable physical harm. Damage to property, substantial interference in a student's or staff's role in education, a hostile educational environment, or substantial disruption in education. All bullying should be reported to the principal. That is our safety information that is on the back. Now I'd like to talk about Catapult EMS. If you have not already done so, go to your app store and download Catapult EMS on your phone. Once you get it downloaded, you will log in through Google and you will use your SDL email and your SDL password to get in. As you see on your screen, that is what your phone will look like. You will have 3 red circles on top, 1 red one in the middle, 2 yellow, and 1 green. So the green are our incident alerts. An incident alert is for something like we may have police activity going on in the neighborhood or a stray animal. Whenever you activate an incident alert, that only notifies your site safety team for your building. Not everybody gets this information. It's just for those people like your administration and that site safety team who it would benefit, and it can always be upgraded if we need to at any other time. But when you institute or enact an incident alert, it just goes to your site safety team. Now the yellow circles are our caution alert. If we have a suspicious person walking around the building, or we have someone staring into car windows, or a medical emergency that we might want to keep people out of a certain hallway or a classroom. Those are our caution alerts. And when you initiate a caution alert, everybody in that building is notified. Then we have our red circles, which are our action alert. Those are our tornadoes, our fire, our active assailant incidents or emergencies. Whenever those are activated, everybody in the building is notified, as well as all district administration and all of our SROs. So whenever you utilize a red action alert, keep in mind that's going out to everybody. This will not automatically call 911, but it will give you the ability to do so. It will ask you. Now, when we're drilling in Catapult EMS, your school administrator will put Catapult in a drill mode, and you'll be notified that it's a drill. And as the drill progresses, everyone will do everything in a drill mode, which makes it safe, which means it's not going out to everybody else. We're not in a live mode. When that drill is resolved, you will get a notification on your phone that the drill has been resolved and that any actions that you take after that will be in a live mode. So we want to make sure that when we're drilling, we stay in the drill mode, and when the drill is resolved, we're done. We don't need any further action, or we'll be activating a live alert. So I want to talk about our active assailant or violent person. So ideally, if we have an active assailant or a violent person in our building, what's the best thing we can do? We can run, right? We don't want to be in the building if we have an assailant in the building. So we want to have an escape route or a plan in mind. We want to leave all of our belongings behind, and we want to help others escape if possible. We're going to evacuate regardless of others. Keep in mind, who is our first and primary focus? It's our kids. So we want to get our kids out of the building. And as we're evacuating, we want to warn and prevent other individuals from entering the building. We do not want to attempt to move wounded people. I know this one's kind of hard to hear, but like I said just a minute ago, our primary focus is our kids. We have to evacuate our kids. And when we're stopping to move injured, we're slowing down and we're making our kids more of a target. We want to keep all of our hands visible, and we're going to follow police instructions. And when it's safe to do so, we're going to call 911 and we're going to utilize Catapult EMS. Now, if we cannot run because this is unfolding, say, outside of our classroom or outside of our office, we want to try to hide. So our hiding spot should be out of an assailant's view. We want to provide as much protection if shots are fired, and we don't want to restrict our options for movement. If the shooter or an assailant is nearby, we're going to lock the door, which, by the way, if we're in a classroom and we have students present, that door should already be locked. We want to hide behind large items such as cabinets or desks, and we want to silence our cell phone. Now, what happens if you forget to silence your cell phone and it rings? Let it ring. If your phone rings and there's an assailant outside your door and you reach over and shut it off while it's ringing, you just removed any doubt that you're in the building or in the room. So just let it ring if you forget. And we want to remain quiet. Now, if we cannot run and we cannot hide, this is happening right in front of us or in close proximity, we may have no other option but to fight. So we're going to act as aggressively as we can. We're going to do anything we have to do. We're going to throw items, or we're going to use improvised weapons. We can work together to incapacitate the assailant or the shooter, and we're going to do whatever we have to. But whatever we're doing, we're going to commit to our actions, because this is not a backyard brawl. This is a fight potentially for your life. So you're going to do what you need to do to get yourself out of that situation and then escape. So some important information we want to know if we find ourselves in this incident is we're calling 911. They're going to want to know answers to some questions. They're going to want to know the location of an assailant, the number of assailants, a physical description, the number and type of weapons that may or may not be used, and a number of potential victims. Law enforcement's immediate and only purpose when they arrive is to stop the assailant or to stop the incident. They're going to proceed to the area where the last shots were heard or where they were dispatched to. And like I said, their first and only priority is to eliminate that threat. When reacting with law enforcement, we want to remain calm. We want to put down any items. We want to raise our hands and keep our fingers spread apart, because I don't want to look like a threat. If my hands are up and my fingers are spread apart, I'm not perceived as a threat to an officer. We want to avoid quick movements, avoid pointing, screaming, or yelling. We want to proceed in the direction from which officers are entering the building, and we want to wear our yellow lanyards. It's a district expectation that everyone has a yellow lanyard on at all times. This also helps to identify us as Springdale staff. The last thing I want to talk to you about is the mandated reporter piece. In 2020, Arkansas Code 12-18-402 states that an individual listed as a mandated reporter under subsection B of this section shall immediately notify the child abuse hotline if he or she has reasonable cause to suspect that a child has been subjected to child maltreatment, died as a result of child maltreatment, or died suddenly or unexpectedly, or observes a child being suspected conditions or circumstances that would reasonably result in a child maltreatment. So who is a mandated reporter? Everyone at Springdale Schools is a mandated reporter. If you work in a school district, you're a mandated reporter. It doesn't matter if you're Dr. Cleveland or if you're a teacher, a principal, a bus driver, maintenance worker, or whoever. If you work for Springdale Schools, you are a mandated reporter. So what must be reported? We have to report abuse, neglect, or abandonment of a child by a caretaker, whether it be a parent, guardian, custodian, or a foster parent. And the caretaker can be anyone who is 14 years of age or older and entrusted with the care of the child. So how do we report? We have the 1-800 number, 1-800-422-6641. That's the child abuse hotline. Or we have a QR code which you can take and scan your phone, and it will give you all the information to report. Now, if you are uncomfortable making a report of child abuse or neglect, by all means, you can reach out to any administrator. I've talked to virtually every one of them. All of them said they will assist you in making this report. Now, reaching out to an administrator does not relieve you of that obligation, because by law, you are obligated to report. And if you fail to report, you can be prosecuted and or fired from the district. So if you do not feel comfortable, reach out to an administrator and they will assist you in getting this report made. But it's still, remember, your responsibility. Thank you for helping to keep us and our students and staff safe at Springdale Schools.